Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome back to another edition of NBC's 10 Count. I'm Steve Falk, but on today's edition, I didn't bring my muscles with me, but she brought hers. It's Kayla Rossi. How are you doing today?
What's up, guys? I'm good. It's great to be here. Super excited to have this opportunity. So,
of course, right now you're beating the crap out of people on AEW Dark, but we got to start from the beginning. How did you get into wrestling? Was it a friend, a family member? Maybe you were channel surfing?
It's actually interesting because I never watched wrestling growing up. I wasn't really even a wrestling fan. Obviously, I knew, WWE and, the little things, The Rock and stuff like that, but it had just never really crossed my mind. I was living in Boca at the time, and I was friends with Brian Cage. We were actually sponsored by the same supplement company. And he had seen a little bit about what I can do. I'm a former gymnast, IFBB pro bodybuilder, and was always just like messing around on Instagram, throwing tricks and gymnastics and stuff. He was like, you should just get in the ring with me one time. So I was like, okay, bet. So we did, this little video back and forth, just running ropes. He taught me how to bump and stuff. And I posted on Instagram, and I got hit up, by a recruiter, and then also by QT Marshall.
Oh, nice.
Who ran the Nightmare Factory. So it was super random. He was like, listen, I want to sponsor you for one of the Nightmare Factory camps. And this was 2 weeks before it started. So in 2 weeks, I decided to just pack up my shit, get in my car, and drive to Atlanta. And and that's kind of where it all started, coming from no experience, nothing, just decided to move down to Atlanta and give it a shot. So,
wow, that is crazy. What just posting some things on the internet will get you places in life. It seems. Go back 20 years ago, that was not the case at all. They'd be like, internet.
It was funny because family members and friends and stuff would always tell me, "Oh, you should be a wrestler. You should be a wrestler," just because I kind of had like the look and my athletic ability was good. So it kind of transitioned well, but I never thought I would be where I am today. So then cool story.
So then the origin of you joining AEW, that obviously must involve QT Marshall.
Yes. So it was about like 6 or 7 weeks into the camp, and he sent me a text and he was like, I have a job for you. And I was like, what? I was like, what do you mean you have a job? And he was like, yeah, Joey Janela needs, a manager or bodyguard manager kind of thing. And he thinks that you'd be perfect for it. So the next week I flew out to TV and, did a little part, like jumped into the ring, powerbombed someone. And that was kind of my start with that.
Wow.
So it was just kind of thrown to the wolves in there. Learn as you go kind of thing.
Are we ever going to see that? I hope, obviously, I'm imagining you hope it is. We're going to see that image. Kayla Rossi is all elite. Is that in the cards?
I know. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. It's up in the air, so we will see what happens. But it's
a little shocking to me that it hasn't happened yet, because the images and pictures I see on Twitter and your Instagram are just impressive. Like, your physique is impressive. But I did see a post. See a post from you. I feel like it was months ago, where I think you might have written online where like you might have been self-conscious about how, because usually let's work in a world where everyone's like, you have to be dainty in these pretty little, women. You're so powerful. You're so strong. And some people might look at that in a negative light, which I'm shocked about, because I have seen negative comments. But yet the transformation of your body from being, obviously you weren't born with these impressive muscles and this body and this physique. So on Twitter and on Instagram, when you post those photos, you did write, hey, there have been negative comments. So how do you deal with people saying like, oh, you should look this way, you should act this way? Because obviously they're never going to reach the impressive physique you have. Like, how do you deal with that?
When I first started bodybuilding, it was really tough because, you put yourself out there and you see these comments like, oh, she looks like a man, or, whatever it might be. And it used to bother me at first, and it kind of made me super self-conscious. It made me question if I even wanted to do it, if I even wanted to look that way. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to own this, because you can be strong and badass and beautiful and feminine at the same time. Yeah. There doesn't have to be one or the other. And I think people get that misconception, because I can go up there on TV, or I can get on that bodybuilding stage and be powerful and be strong, but I'm still a woman and I'm still feminine, and I can still be pretty and do my hair and do my nails and show that side of me too. So, there's so much negative out there, and I just want women to know that they can be both, and you can be strong and you can be beautiful at the same time. So
Yeah.
again, it's just kind of self-accepting that.
Yeah, because as I said, it sounds like I'm like stalking your Instagram. There are pictures
No.
of you on Instagram, and I'm like I hope my wife doesn't see me looking at these photos, and then there are, you're it's just so impressive. Some of them are so, I guess, like I'd use the word, I guess sexy. And then other ones are bodybuilding photos, you working out, you putting in the work to keep your body the way it is. So like you said, obviously there's a two-way street to this. Some people will be like, oh, you just said it, oh, she looks like a man. It's like, hello. Do you think it was overnight for you yourself to get these muscles and be this impressive in this body? It doesn't take 5 minutes to do makeup, folks. It doesn't take, there's work into it all. It's not just muscles and arms, it's face, it's body, it's posture, it's everything. So there has to be a moment where you, like you said, you know what, F those people, and I'm going to do what I want to do, because what makes me happy is obviously what you're doing right now. So that's a positive role model. And I thank you for doing that for women all across the world.
And and that's why I do post, the sexier pictures and the model-esque pictures, because I want people to know that you can be both. And it's like, just because I work out a ton and just because I take care of my body, why is that a negative thing?
Yeah.
So it's usually the people that are down on themselves or have low self-confidence or, are sitting at home on the couch eating Doritos, watching your workout video, calling you a man. It's like, so you just got to kind of take it with a grain of salt and move on and embrace your image. And, I think over the years, I've done a really good job of stepping into that. I definitely still have my moments where reading those comments stings, of course, but, I'm trying to always think about the image that I'm portraying to other women and other people in the industry that are dealing with the same things.
So mentally, you're obviously dealing with these situations when someone writes these things to you, because everyone, no matter how powerful, from The Rock to John Cena to China to anyone in the world, everyone has a moment of questioning, am I doing the right thing? And so obviously for you, you have decided to push forward through these negative comments and have transformed your body to this beautiful, strong woman. And what made you decide to go into that realm of life? Because obviously, again, you weren't born with this impressive physique. And then as time goes on, suddenly you must have been like, okay, I'm going this way. How did this happen?
So I was a gymnast, like from the age of 8 until, I don't know, about 19, 20. But my whole life was regimented so specifically to gymnastics. So I was on like a diet plan when I was 10 years old, and like writing down my food and, at camps for weeks, and, never went to school dances and stuff like that because I was so regimented. So my journey kind of started when I was a kid, in terms of discipline, in terms of just taking care of myself and conditioning the body. After that, I got hurt, fractured my back. And
what age was this when you fractured your back?
I was young. I was like 17 or 18.
Oh my God.
So yeah, I was in a back brace for 6 months and kind of just decided that it was the end of my career for that. Ended up, becoming a UConn cheerleader and using my abilities to do that. But my whole life since I was a kid has been athletics and, fueling my body the correct way. So after all that ended, after I, graduated college, I just missed the competitive nature. I missed having goals to look forward to. I missed working for something. And I was just kind of in the gym doing like, your cardio and abs routine, like every other girl does when they just start. And someone came up to me and they were like, do you compete? And I was like, no, I've never thought about it before, and went home and I was like, you know what, I can do this. I hired a coach, and 3 months later, I had my pro card. I did like one local show, won that, and 2 weeks later did a national show and won my pro card. So my life just kind of transitioned into bodybuilding at that point. So,
wow.
Yeah.
There's so much. Being 10 years old and writing down what you're eating and not eating, I can't imagine that being
Yeah.
fun. And then you just talked about you're missing school dances. You're missing these opportunities to go to these events.
Yeah.
That must
Well,
have
because
affected you.
my goal was so one track to I want to be an Olympic gymnast. I want to, make the Olympic team. So
Right.
I was willing to do anything at that point, even from a young age, to reach that goal. So, I've kind of stayed with that same mindset my whole life, which is sometimes a negative thing because I am so one track minded in terms of if I want something, there is nothing that's going to stop me from getting where I'm going.
Right.
Which has helped me in numerous aspects of my life, but it's also hurt in terms of social experiences or things that normal kids would go through. But to me, it's worth it. It was worth it.
Well, obviously you can't go back in time
Yeah.
to try something else, but at the same time, talking about, I guess I wouldn't call them normal, but usually growing up, you're doing certain things with friends and family members, dances, whatever. And yet,
Mhm.
again, you blew my mind when you said, at 10 years old, I'm writing down what I'm eating and what I'm not eating. And as a
Yeah.
10-year-old, I'm thinking, you're still trying to play with action figures or Barbies and not letting your friends see you, doing that because you're still trying to hold on to being a kid while trying to grow
Because
up.
being a
But it
kid, of
seemed like
course.
you didn't do either. It seemed like you just chose a different path of I'm not going to grow up to be a regular teenager. I'm not going to stay young as a small child. Like you just chose a different. You saw the forest and you knocked down the trees and walked through them.
Yeah, it's I've kind of just been that way my whole life, and people are like, "Why are you?" To me, it's like I'm never good enough, or I've never reached the step. And even when I do something that's like a huge accomplishment, I feel like I never let myself sink into that accomplishment or have that. It's always what's next, what's the next thing. And I remember specifically this like one time we were camping as a kid, and it's like we're making s'mores, and I'm like in my little journal writing down that I ate s'mores and how I had to make up for that with conditioning, whatever it was. But yeah, it's been an interesting life, an interesting journey.
Well, obviously, it's led to where you are now. You
Mhm.
have transitioned from bodybuilding to wrestling to bodybuilding to wrestling. Like you've
Yeah.
gone back and forth, back and forth. What is the biggest difference between training to become a professional wrestler versus training to be a bodybuilder?
The control of it. Like when in bodybuilding, I'm the only one that's in control. I control what I eat, I control when I work out, I control, how many reps I do, how my body looks. Up until you get on stage and it's subjective in the judge's hands. But with wrestling, it's been a completely different experience for me because there's really no rhyme or reason for anything that goes on in wrestling.
Mm.
And that's what I've had to learn. It's like you don't have control. You just have to, get in the reps and do the work. And if you have your break, you have your break. But yeah, that's probably been the biggest thing. And also just so I've been an athlete my whole life. So the biggest challenge for me in wrestling has been almost being too perfect, where I try to someone teaches me a move and I try to mimic it exactly perfect. And it almost looks fake because it's like too perfect. I go to do like a hip toss or something, and I'm doing like a front tuck into landing on my back, which it's supposed to look like it's a move, right? So, that's been my biggest thing in terms of transitioning from being an athlete into being a wrestler. And it's just learning the selling and all that.
Yeah, I think though, at least in my brain is how because of your I keep saying it, your physique, your muscles. I think in reality, you shouldn't be off your feet. You should be tossing
Yeah.
people around because of the way you
Yeah.
look. Like
Mhm.
when I used to watch the Big Show do a huge move off the top rope, I'm like, what the hell is he
Yeah.
doing on the
What
top
is he
rope?
doing? And he's actually been a huge mentor of mine within AEW. He's great, so knowledgeable, so helpful. But you're right, it's kind of been hard for me too because I have a bunch of people telling me different things like you look like China, or you should just be strong and statue like and just do power moves. But the athlete inside of me is like, no, I want to flip around. I have this athletic ability that not many people have, especially women in wrestling. So I want to showcase those moves. So it's kind of how do you find that balance between like the strength and the power and also showing my athletic ability. So I want to just kind of bring it all together in a package that nobody has seen before, which is kind of my goal.
Yeah, you
Um,
said you mentioned China, and obviously you do must get that comparison all the time from people.
All the time.
And is that do you like that comparison?
I mean, I do, but then I'm in the back of my head like, no, China was like 5'10", 5'11", like just like statuesque and, brute force. And I get it. I look like it. I'm built like her, whatever, but I'm 5'3" and I'm athletic as hell and I can do other things. So, it's been difficult to take advice from people and of what I should act like, and the presence I should have, and then also what I want to bring and, my nuances that I want to bring to the wrestling world. So,
yeah. Again, it's either a positive or negative comparison, because obviously you want to be yourself, but at the same time, someone comparing you to such a Hall of Famer like China is always going to be a compliment. But yet you don't want to be the next China. You want to be the first, Kayla Rossi.
Of course. But I can't lie. I've taken inspiration from her. Who wouldn't? Because she is such a prominent figure in the world of wrestling, and did such great things for women in general in the wrestling world. So
it's nice. It's nice to see that, because for so long there was the WWE was like the be all end all. So if you were erased by the WWE, you were erased from from the wrestling world existence. And yet over the past 10 years, fans who grew up with her and women who grew up with her and knew her and saw her all have come forward, because women's wrestling has become prominent versus how it used to be like, here's a pillow, have a pillow fight, here's some mud, go wrestle in that.
And that's what when people would first start telling me, oh, you should wrestle, this was years ago, and I would watch like the divas and I was like, this isn't me. Like, this isn't me. It was more of like pageant-y and showy, girly, and I was just like, no. I want to beat up some people,
Right. I think Ronda Rousey becoming such a prominent figure in the UFC really opened the door. And I don't, people will say whatever they want about Ronda and her personal views on life or whatever, but at the same time, no one can deny that her presence in UFC made her a mainstream person. Like, you didn't have to watch UFC to know who Ronda Rousey was. You knew the name. It's like Michael Jordan basketball. There's going to be athletes in sports that you don't have to even watch the sport to know who the person is.
And that's the goal, right? To be, that prominent and that much of a figure for people that don't even, I didn't watch wrestling grow up, but I know who The Rock is. I know who John Cena is. I know, and that's, when you transcend like that, that's incredible. So what Ronda's done for the world is great.
And so obviously when people were telling you to become a women's wrestler and you're watching, some of the divas do their thing, and some of them had matches, but they were short, 3 minutes. But most of the time was like, go in there, here's a pile of mud, go wrestle in it. Oh, here's a thong stink face match.
What?
and someone's like, you should get into this, and you're probably looking at it going,
I'm like, I'm gonna go like to Muay Thai and beat some people up, So
has there ever been anyone reached out to you to go to Ultimate Fighting, MMA?
So I've been training Muay Thai for about 4 years. So it was kind of like always in the back of my head, like I could do this, like it would be such a dope experience. And I just love combat sports in general. And that type of training is so much fun to me. I actually went and trained with Eric at Extreme Couture in Vegas. And it was such a cool experience, just being around the fighters and hitting pads. And, maybe I'll transition or do like one MMA fight. I would love to. Honestly.
Oh, man. I think you just choke somebody out easily. But we talked earlier though, you were from Boston. This is NBC Sports Boston. So let's get local for a second. So you grew up here and then you were in New Hampshire, Connecticut. Like, let's hear the story. What's going on?
Yeah. So I spent most of my childhood in New Hampshire. I went to Pinkerton Academy in Derry. It's a huge high school. Like, my graduating class was over 1,000 people, but grew up in such a small town, and just like the New England vibe. I'm a huge Patriots fan, a huge Red Sox fan, and Boston sports are just different. So everyone I meet is just like, where are you from? I'm like, Boston. Like, I feel like people from Boston have to represent their hometown. They have to fucking embrace that. So
Yeah, even if
I
you're
don't know if
not.
I'm allowed to swear on here. I'm sorry.
No, even if you're not from Boston, from a town outside Boston, like nobody knows what. Like I grew up in the town called Peabody. Do you think anyone knows
Okay.
you think anyone knows where Peabody is? No, but you
Yeah,
say, "Where are you from?" I'm from Boston. Yeah,
you're
oh,
right.
you're from Boston.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
It's
okay,
just like
okay.
that. If you're around that area, you're just from Boston. It's just what it is. My dad, grew up in Southie and Stoneham, and my mom was in Lawrence. So always been in that area growing up. My whole family still lives there. So,
Well, there you go.
it's always great to go home for sure.
Hometown girl. Though, currently involved with AEW, but has anybody else reached out to you? Because you got WWE, you got Impact Wrestling, you got NWA, and I know they're all watching each other. It's not like
Yeah.
it's a thing where like, oh my God, there's another wrestling show. What do you mean?
Yeah, right. What? So when I first started, like honestly, around the same time, QT Marshall reached out to me, a WWE recruiter reached out to me. And I went through the whole process, everything. They were going to invite me to a tryout, like went to the very end of the process and they were like, oh, you're over 27. We're cutting the age off at 27.
Oh, so this is recently then.
Yeah, recently. They were like, yeah, anyone over 27 is a no-go. So
when was
that
this?
kind of ended that conversation. That must have been last July. So about a year ago.
Wow. I have a feeling that with Triple H now in charge of everything, I think that might change because ageism is a really bizarre thing. I know many people at Mickey James have spoken about this where why is it an age difference for a female wrestler, but a male wrestler, like you got Undertaker, Goldberg, Ric Flair had his last match again recently. You think they're going to, and maybe it's society that's judging women on you need to look like you always have. You have to always look like you were 20 something years old versus
right.
a male wrestler can be like, oh, you don't have to look that way. It's okay. Like, what is that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, from my experience, I'm in better shape and I'm more apt to be a better wrestler at 33 than I was 10 years ago at 23. So for me, my physical performance has only increased. My muscle maturity, my abilities. Maybe people assume that it's looks, as you get older, your looks decrease. Or to me, maybe it was the amount of time if you start at 33 and they want to put you through NXT and all these developmental programs. So the 6 or 7 years by the time you actually get on TV, you're 40. So I kind of get it in terms of that, but I'm in the best shape of my life. So I don't think age should be an issue.
Again, if the WWE is not looking at your Instagram photos and your videos and on Twitter, they are missing out.
Why does age matter? Why does age matter? I can do more stuff now. I have a bigger reach now than I did when I was 22, 23. So
yeah, your social media presence is outstanding.
Thank you so much.
And obviously, those people who are following you really love you and enjoy you. I said, I'm interviewing Kayla Rossi.
Yeah.
And you retweeted it. It was like, boom. I'm like, oh my God, notifications. I'm like, holy shit. Like, what the hell's happening?
Yeah, I just got on Twitter almost a year ago, like around this time, I think it was July of 2021, because of wrestling. QT was like, you need to start a Twitter. So I was like, I had never been on Twitter, started a Twitter, and 13 months later, I have 80K followers. So it's just been kind of crazy. The Twitter wrestling world is interesting for sure.
Yeah. You never hear about the Instagram wrestling media. You don't ever hear that.
You don't. It's always Twitter.
It's always Twitter. And I don't use Instagram because my bread and butter is Twitter. And that's where and I'm not going to go to Instagram because I never hear about you never hear about wrestling Instagram. No, you don't hear about wrestling Facebook. You don't hear about wrestling any of that stuff. It's always wrestling Twitter media. So
but it's weird because the fitness world is all IG, IG and TikTok. So
yes. It might be just maybe it's an age thing or the material you're putting out there. I don't know.
Right.
I think Instagram is for more for photos. Twitter is more for back and forth interviews like this. And yeah, Twitter, Instagram's more like scroll.
Yeah.
Scroll. Ooh, scroll.
Right.
TikTok, same thing, obviously, but
TikTok. I've been trying to get into it, but I'm like, it's hard. I feel like it's all kids and I don't know, little dances and stuff. So I've just been kind of posting workout videos on there, hoping to get some traction. But
Yeah.
Instagram's been my main focus, and now Twitter.
So what's the difference? What are you getting different reactions from your Instagram posts versus your Twitter posts? Because again, we talked about before, Twitter is full of either people who are like, look at her, or ooh, look at her. So I guess it's how you read the comments.
100%. I mean, my Instagram follower base is mostly fitness people, whereas my Twitter is mostly wrestling fans. So on Instagram, I also tend to post a little bit more provocative stuff on Twitter, versus IG. Just in terms of pictures or whatever it is. Instagram has been more fitness related for most of my career. So I'll still post, some wrestling pictures here and there, but my response is mostly from fitness people or people that think it's cool or just want to see what I'm doing. And Twitter is where you really get all the kind of feedback or the negative comments or the positive ones too.
Yeah, obviously it's positive too, but I would think that the photos you're posting on Twitter and your physique and your body, like, how are there negative comments?
I just got one today that was like, how do people think this is attractive? And I'm like, well, like, what do you look like? Are you like a 130-pound man that lives at home? Because your opinion doesn't mean anything to me.
You could pop their head off with your thighs. Just saying. Just saying. Yeah. That's how muscular they are. Impressive. So thumbs up to that. But what is still to come in AEW? Like, you're on Dark right now, and that's on YouTube, and people watch that as well. But obviously the goals are Dynamite, Rampage.
Of course. I mean, that's always the goal. It's so up in the air with AEW. I never really know what I'm doing until like a week or two before. So I'm kind of just putting my head down, grinding, training. I'm actually doing my first indie show in 2 weeks in Atlanta. So that just to get experience, just for me, it's like the more reps, the more practice, the more ready I'll be for when that time comes where I do get a chance to go on Dynamite. So
right, because
that's the goal for sure, and we'll just kind of see what happens. But
you versus Jade,
oh boy,
for that TBS championship is something we need to see. I have seen photos of you guys together, but what the hell? That two powerful women in the ring beating the crap out of each other is money. There's money on the table.
Someone's gonna take her down too. So better be me. But that's been probably the number one thing that I've heard on Twitter in general is just Kayla versus Jade. So, hopefully maybe it will happen. It would be a really cool match. It would be dope to see two strong women going at it that, both take care of their bodies, both have like a big presence. So it'll definitely be the match that people want to see for sure.
Yes, she's undefeated. She's destroying everybody. And you're currently undefeated in AEW Dark. So like, let's get two undefeated streaks against each other. That's how you bill it. One undefeated 100%. Streak versus another undefeated streak colliding on Dynamite, Rampage, or Full Gear, Revolution, All Out, whatever you want to say. But that to me is the money match that people need to be paying attention to. The build for you on Dark needs to continuously go on. And now when you're on Dark, is it just because when they're located where you are, or is it a constant rotation of we want you every time Dark is on?
It's every time that they do Dark, I'm usually there. So I had taken kind of a step back. Honestly, it was just, when my thing with Joey ended, I kind of had to kind of reevaluate where I was at in life and pay attention to things that I have kind of put on the back burner with going to Atlanta to train for wrestling and, kind of dive back into bodybuilding and the supplement company and everything that we had going on needed to be a priority for the time being. And, then they gave me a call and they said, we want you on Dark. And I was like, I'll be there. So, that's how we got back into it.
Yeah, let's talk about launching of your new lifestyle fitness app, because again, if no one's, it sounds like I'm just crazy person, but if no one's been on her Instagrams or her
Yeah.
Twitter accounts, you're missing out on the pictures. And obviously your fitness is a huge part of it. Folks, if you're not paying attention, and she already said 10 years old, she was talking about
Yeah.
what she was eating, what she wasn't eating. So this is someone you want to be in charge of your fitness. Let's talk about that. Like,
So, I've been an online coach, personal trainer for almost 10 years now, but I wanted to come up with something that was like an all-inclusive way for people to get the coaching that they needed, get the nutritional advice they needed right on their phone and one app. And we've been working on it for a while, about a year, coming up with all the content, coming up with what we wanted to present. And yeah, we developed ATO, which is Addicted to Overcoming, and the app will be launching hopefully at the end of October. And it's really just going to be an all-in-one inclusive app for everyone to get the body that they want. And it's going to have training plans, live workouts that you can just jump in. I'll be doing, live combat cardio sessions and HIIT workouts and stuff like that, but also have your on-demand workouts. So if you want to train legs one day, you just click the legs button and a bunch of workouts pull up and you can just follow along with me. So it's really just my goal to expand and touch as many people's lives as possible and let people know that, getting in shape isn't this huge undertaking. It can be worked into your lifestyle easily. So
outstanding. And now with AEW involvement with you and this app, let's talk about it. We talked about Jade for a second, but do you have a dream opponent currently in AEW that you're eyeballing besides Jade?
Oh, besides Jade,
because we all want that. We all want the Jade versus Kayla match, but is there anybody else?
They were. Ruby Soho I think that she's just dope. I love her personality. I love her style of wrestling. I think that she would be a cool person to have a match with. Marina, who's just up and coming, I like her style as well because she's kind of like brute force, kind of a strong woman as well in terms of that aspect. But really anyone that I'm trying to take down. So
take out Britt Baker, take out Athena. Thunder Rose is out right now with an injury, but there are so many other people that I think the idea of you just destroying them would be entertaining and money on the table that needs to happen. But the match we all want. You versus Jade. The pictures are out there.
I'll take out all the baddies first, and then I'll meet Jade.
I think that's the headline, and now Jade's gonna be super pissed about this, but hopefully she doesn't text me. But Kayla Rossi, thank you so much for being here on NBC's 10 Count, sharing your story, sharing your passion for fitness, working out, your regimen. Check out the app, folks, because again, it is something that you need to check out, that she is clearly in shape, and we need more of that in life because everyone tearing down you for no reason is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
I appreciate that.
But we'll have to see what the future holds.
We definitely need more strong women in this world. So like me, like Jade, Jade is a great example too. So of
course. Well, folks, I've been Seafall. She's been Kayla Rossi. We will see you next time for another edition of NBC's 10 Count. Have a wonderful day. Bye.